Good morning from Old Hickory Lake. It's Smitty from Kevin's Solar Adventure here. I'm Kevin Smith. Hey. Ever since I began this journey to add solar to my boat and use it, I wasn't sure how I'd go about it and how I wanted to apply it to the entire system. I watched a lot of videos and try to get a bunch of ideas on how to build my own system, and it can be complicated for people that aren't sure about electricity. Even for people who are, I'm semi familiar with it, so it kind of was a very large learning experience. Basically, rather than planning on building an entire system bit by bit, component wise, I just started out with a solar generator and some panels. Basically, I've got the Bluetti EB240. You probably already know that from much of my other videos. And a bunch of solar panels just on the boat, mounted in different spots, cables run, so forth. And down to the center of the boat where I keep the EB240. At some point I will build a larger system, I think. I just ordered an AC200. I got the early bird deal on that, so I'm pretty jonesed about that. But my point here is this. With the EB240 down in a confined area with cables running to it, how do you plug in your different banks and get things, organized a little easier? When you plug in one bank or unplug one and plug another one in, it's kind of hard to see quickly how parallel and series things actually apply to the wattage as far as how it affects them. Basically, so rather than trying to unplug cables and plug other ones in, not getting really great comparison results, I decided to build a junction box, a passive box. Basically, it allows me to switch between two different banks and whether they are in series or parallel with each other. Now, the math may not add up all the time, and I may get some error messages. With the AC200, I should be able to use more power to generate, solar energy. But basically, with the 240, I'm limited to 67 watts input, and 67 volts input. Let me correct that. At 10 amps. So right now this switching system allows me to kind of compare what's going on in the boat just by flicking a switch here and there, and I'll show you that system and also go through the building of this box and include a schematic for those of you who are interested in maybe building something similar. This is very rudimentary box, so it's nothing crazy. It's just a passive box with some switches in it. So right now I don't have anything really permanently installed. It's just down here in the cuddy. I've got the EB240, and here's the box I built. Basically, I've got two different banks of panels coming in. The aft bank, A, and the forward bank, forward. Now I can turn these on and off with these switches. So I can turn that, both banks are off, I turn one on. And I can switch between parallel and series operation of both banks. So what that allows me to do is, especially on cloudy days, I can see which settings are the best. And it basically, right now I'm not pulling in anything because it's completely overcast. But on the back bank I'm still getting 29 watts. So I let it run because, at some point within 100 or so hours I'll have another bar. But when I go out in the lake, this thing will charge it pretty quick. But I just wanted to see, and it's kind of cool to see. Let me turn on the other panel, so they're going to be both in parallel. I switch that on, and it goes up to 33 watts. Hey! So you see that it does make a difference. So shut it off, 31. And the forward bank, turn it back on, 34. There's some residual sunlight up front, but it's very minimal. And it just bounces off other surfaces onto the panels. But it's kind of cool to see that, the difference it makes. Now let's do this in series. I'm going to shut the panels off, switch it to series, and then put them both back on. Basically, in series there's nothing going on. because the voltage and amperage are kind of, well, there's 15, 18, 19. Let's see what happens. So now I'm in series. Both sets of panels are on. I'm at 26 watts. You can just use this as a reference. When there's a lot of sunlight out, it's going to be 10 times that number, hopefully more. So right now in series, let's switch back to parallel. So it's just interesting to see the differences between the two, the way to run the two, and then flicking one on and off. If I front the front panel off again, it goes down a few watts, and that'll multiply when I've got a lot of sun power. Anyhow, you can see it's pretty inconsistent, but it's cool to see instant differences in these panels. Now I've got the outputs coming from over here. Those go into the front of the Bluetti from that cable. This is just a basic box. It's a passive electronics. It's just 3 switches and a bunch of MC4 connectors mounted in the box. I use some bus bars to connect some stuff, but I'll show you how to build this at some point and include the schematic. I just wanted to give you that basic intro to it. This is the passive box, so there's no power hooked up to it. It's basically just a junction box. I use the existing MC4 connectors that I bought a large package of for cable runs, and I just connected them to the top of this box. So basically these are standard on-off switches. And I changed this from an on to an on-off-on. I didn't want some sort of ghost connection when I switched from series to parallel, that somehow where you didn't have a position in the middle that was completely neutral. So now the middle position on this is an off position for everything. That way there's a distinct disconnection between parallel and series. That's an on-off-on switch. On-off-on. And these are basic on-on switches. And you just connect one where it's basically, so this shows in the schematic how it connects. It's pretty simple. I use the 10 gauge wire, and basically these are a male and female on each side for the inputs on front bank and aft bank. These two here, and these two go out to the cable on your solar generator. So these are standard connectors that I used in this box. I used a deeper box that's about 3 or 4 inches deep, because this 10 gauge wire is pretty thick, so it doesn't bend easy, so it needed to have a little more space when it connected here to like curve around, because if you curved it and bent it too sharply, it may be bad for the wire. This is like a $20 box, probably less than that, and I just really basically labeled it so I could tell what was going on. So there's that. Nothing more to tell you about that really, but it works pretty cool. Okay, to summarize, this is a real basic project, nothing crazy going on here. I didn't need any soldering irons. I just basically used lug connectors that I crimped, 10 gauge wire. I gave you the list of parts. You can get it if you want to make one of these on Amazon. No big deal. I wanted something that I could control myself. Somebody asked me, why didn't you use OR diodes so it automatically picked the best voltage? Well, first of all, I didn't know about that technology. Secondly, I'm kind of a control freak in a small way. So I wanted to have control and see what things did when I switched to myself. At some point, I will add another output bank here. Since I have an AC200 coming, I'll have the EB240 in the other one. So I want to have 2 outputs so I can control what goes where. Now, I could just plug one bank into one generator, one into the other, but that's not going to be an option because I'm covered up here, so I'm not going to get sunlight on the front bank that much. So I may want to switch between where the solar goes out to. So I'm going to probably add another set of MC4s here for an output to the AC200 then I can switch between which one of those I want to get power. If this one's full, I can just switch it to the other one and I fill that one up, you know, after. So this is Smitty from Kevin's Solar Adventure. Hey man, if you like my videos, pass them around, man. Share the love. Have fun boondocking on the lake and all that good stuff, and I'll see you around. Bye. Hey, stick around for a slideshow of photographs of the project, and you'll see close-ups and some stills of those. And I'll also include the schematic for the project. So there you go.